Hello. Today in this video we are going to talk about civil and environmental drawings, which are slightly different than the pure structural drawings that we've shown in the past. First off, our drawing sizes are typically the same, and your civil and environmental drawings are usually combined with your structural drawings in one complete drawing package. D size and E size are your most typical drawing sizes. Our drawing scales on civil and environmental drawings follow our civil engineering scales thoroughly, and it is very rare to see an architectural scale on your civil and environmental drawings. So typically they are 1 inch equals 40 to 50 to 80 to 100 to 200 feet, and larger scales up to even larger inch to foot scales. We can see here that floor plans are typically smaller scales, plot plans are a little bit larger, block plans are even larger, and then ordinance, and this is looking at communities and cities, are even larger. Our line weights on a drawing, line weight being the definition of the thickness of lines, is your thickest lines on the drawings typically represent the primary function of the drawing. The secondary lines that aren't as pertinent to the actual title of the drawing and what the purpose of the drawing is may be considerably thinner or of lighter or different line styles, such as dashed. Common lines used on civil and environmental drawings can vary from drawing to drawing and from designer to designer, but there are some commonalities that are not necessarily standard but common, where boundary lines are often solid lines, or subdivision boundary and property lines can either be solid or phantom lines, a phantom meaning a long dash, 2 short dashes, and 1 long dash. Again, property lines can also be that solid continuous line again. Easement lines very often are dashed. A basic center line can be used in a number of areas and really can be defined as a line to be used for multiple things. Proposed water oftentimes is a thick bold line. Proposed sewer is oftentimes a thick center line. Existing water, existing sewer oftentimes are a dashed line where in place of the small dashes are the W's and the S's. Our line styles can expand obviously beyond this short list. Items that are commonly found on civil and environmental drawings are, of course, you would need your property lines and boundary lines. Oftentimes contour lines are on drawings, but not on all drawings. Drainage ways are also commonly shown. Existing structures as compared to proposed structures. Existing structures oftentimes are thin lines, where a proposed structure would be a thicker and bolder line. Roads and parking are typically called out, as well as landscaping and utility information. And then any dimensions and specifications that are required for that drawing would also be on the drawing. So there are various types of site plans, and here's some terminology here. A plot plan is an accurate layout of a piece of land. A plat plan is a group of individual sites used for subdivisions. And a subdivision is a tract of land that's divided into multiple lots. Site survey plans should have at least these 11 items found on it. A north arrow is absolutely necessary, as well as your property boundaries, and the property boundaries need to be labeled with respect to angle and distance. Street names are required, even if they are just a road or a route. We can use route names, but all roads need to be labeled. Easements need to be identified. Existing structures need to be shown. Permanent improvements, and so if you're putting a trampoline or something like that in your yard, that's not permanent. What we're talking about is something that is either has a foundation or is going to last several years, such as porches and decks and pools, any wells or septic that may be added. Parking areas, driveways, and sidewalks belong on all site survey drawings. Any permanent bodies of water, if there are within proximity of the sites. Landscaping can be put on a site survey plan. Proposed changes, as well as contact information. North arrows. While a north arrow is required on every survey drawing, there is no standard as to what the north arrow should look like. But it definitely has to have a north and showing the direction of the north. And so here's just examples of some varying north arrows. And this would change from designer to engineer to architect. Everybody typically uses their own unique or a company standard. So at a bare minimum, we have to have at least an arrow pointing north and labeled N, but we certainly can get more detailed and show your north, south, east, and west directions. Here's an example of a site plan, and let's take a look at some of the items on here. First, where's the north arrow? This north arrow is a little small, but it is found over here on the left. And so this gives us the opportunity to, when we're drawing our site plan, to draw vertical and horizontal lines for a lot of the major lines. And then we just tilt the north arrow to the direction with respect to those vertical and horizontal lines. Our boundaries are shown. We can see that they're thick here, and they are labeled. The print's a little small, but they are labeled with bearing angle and distance. Any parking areas are here. Let's take a look at our existing structures, which are shown with just solid rectangular and bold lines. And let's take a look at our proposed structure. So the line weight showing the perimeter of this proposed structure is not different than our existing structure, where oftentimes it is. Instead, this designer decided to shade in and fill in. And so this drawing is, we can see down here is an expansion drawing. This is a new building or a proposed building that is going to be constructed. There's some existing water. There are some existing landscaping. So this looks like some roads or paths and some trees and whatnot. And then there's a grove over here. So pretty detailed with the amount of information that's out here. Our property lines are typically bold. And this example on the left is that they are bold and solid. And they're typically labeled for bearing and distance. And surveying as a whole is a separate career field and a nice career to get into if you choose.